what I've learned from this journey is that some people are designed and can do secret TBRs, while others can't keep a secret.
Yep, that's me.
Hello, beautiful bookish people. My name is Hannah, and today I read my favorite Booktubers' favorite books. If that makes sense. So when you're on Booktube, you watch a lot of videos, you read a lot of books, and your social life goes out the window. But when you're on Booktube for so long, you start to associate certain books with certain people. So today I thought it would be fun to read 5 books that make me think of 5 different Booktubers and kind of just tell you what I thought of them, if I liked them, if I didn't, what I rated them, what it reminded me of said creator, and you know, all that jazz. Without further ado, I think we should just jump on into it. So the first person I wanted to do this for was Heather from Aphrodite Reads. And Heather, I could do a whole other video just reading books that remind me of Heather, because there are so many books I associate with her, like To Kill a Kingdom, A Song of Achilles, House of Salt and Sorrow. Like, it's ridiculous. But the one that I decided to go with was The Lovely War by Julie Berry. And what this is about is like beautifully intertwines 2 love stories from World War I that's narrated by the Greek gods. But a majority of it is Aphrodite. That's why it's like lovely wars. Ha ha ha. What's really great about The Lovely War is it discusses the power of love in it, like the power it can have, and the conversations between the Greek gods really display that really well. Like through these conversations you can really tell that the philosophy of the importance of love is really coming through, which is really cool because I think love as a power gets discounted a lot. Like everybody talks about Aries or Apollo with the sun, but Aphrodite kind of gets undermined when love has so much power in the world. Where there's this quote that Aphrodite says, like, Aphrodite's domain is privacy, so it may not be as grand as the sun or Aries, but it still has such an important impact on the world that I think we forget about. This is also historical fiction, which I always forget that I like. This one also probably took me the longest to read. I don't know if it was because it was big or I was just trying to take in every word. The world may never know. I also forget how much I love historical fiction, in the sense that like how it has its ability to push characters in like bounds that they can't control themselves, which makes it really easy to sympathize with these characters because everything that's happening to them is not in their control. And so by the end of it, you're kind of just like desperately hoping that everything works out for all of these characters, and just wishing and hoping that like Aphrodite comes through with that clutch of love. And in the end, I ended up loving it, and I gave it 5 out of 5 stars because it just played with my heartstrings, but in the most beautiful way. And I really want to pick up more of Julie Berry's work because I've been snoozing on this girl. So yeah, Heather, my friend, you did on what?
You did on did good.
I don't know what I'm saying, but I liked one of the books you told me to read. So the next book that I associate with a booktuber is Aristotle and Dante Discover the Secrets of the Universe. I associate this with Tom from TJ Reads the Stars. He just had like his 3rd year anniversary reading this book, and previously, before he like had started talking about it, I really didn't have too much of an interest reading it. Don't ask me why. I just get into weird moods. But I just want to say thank you, Tom, because This book was beautiful, and I need to tell y'all about it. Okay, here we go. So this book follows Aristotle and Dante. The former, Aristotle, is a stubborn, hot-headed guy who doesn't want you to know him type of guy, kind of angry, kind of stuck in his own ways. And Dante is this wholesome being that reads poetry and gives swimming lessons to Aristotle. And it's honestly one of the best connections that I've seen between characters in a long time. Let me tell you, it was so good. This is the type of book that I would say is more about the journey than the destination, because there's not really a plot necessarily, but I really liked that because at the end of the day, you know, life kind of doesn't have a plot. You know, there's not a 3-act system that we follow our lives for. So for me, that just added like another layer of reality to like make me bawl even harder. Let me tell you, I cried 3 times in this book, and like I'm very hard to get to cry. Like Benjamin Alira's son does like such great character development that you keep unraveling layers upon layers until like they become bare, which makes them so real, and I don't know how else to explain it. Oh my gosh, the hand holding, stop. This book is about being angry and not knowing why. It's about dismaying stereotypes about masculinity. It's about being okay with crying and reading poetry and swimming lessons and hand holding and secrets of the universe. I feel like I'm gushing, but that's okay. I can see also why Tom likes it, because it poses so many questions about love and life and what it means to be human, and some are answered and some are up to you to figure out, which is just perfect. But anywho, I gave obviously this 5 out of 5 stars. Again, probably gonna be on my favorite books of the year. And Tom, I don't know what else to say except like thank you for always talking about this book, because I don't know if I would have read it without you. Moving right along, we have the love of my life, my queen, probably one of my first booktube friends, Bendy from Caught Between Pages. And Bendy loves Truth Witch. Ever since the beginning of her channel, or like our friendship beginning, I like told her, listen, I get you, I see you, I'm gonna read Truth Witch. And it took me a year to finally get around to it. So Truth Witch is about this strong female friendship that's in a fantasy world. We have Sophia, who is a Truth Witch, which means she's basically a human lie detector. Like, she can smell BS from a mile away. And then we have Hizolt, who is a thread witch, which basically means she has the ability to see how people's lives are entangled, if that makes sense. And apparently a lot of people want a human lie detector. So from the very beginning, we are on the run, Sophia and Isolde, from this blood witch. So right from the beginning, you're kind of just like thrown into this fantasy world, which I think that is done very well, because from my perspective, I wasn't confused from the beginning. Like Susan Denner kind of gives you enough information to grab onto so that you can enjoy the story, while simultaneously not giving you enough so that you're curious to continue. I will say it's very basic writing. I'm not using that as an insult, but like, it's what I'm saying is like every word is meaningful in that very like classic Hemingway, like each word is done very purposefully. Like, there's not a whole lot of flowery prose that are in Truth Witch, but like personally I prefer my fantasy like that, kind of like cut and dry, to the point. But really the only qualm I kind of have with Truth Witch is like a lot of the characters' motivations or internal struggles come from external motivations. Like because of that, sometimes you don't get a full grasp on the characters. Like, you understand that these characters are like kind of pawns on a chessboard in a very like Game of Thrones-esque type of way, but you never know how they're feeling about that, if that makes sense. You always know like their thoughts on the external plot. Just because of that, I ended up giving it 4 stars. Loved it. It was a good old time. Turns out booktubers like know what they're talking about. The next book that I ended up reading was Defy the Stars. This one was for Cindy. Now, Cindy is very much known for Six of Crows, but I've already read Six of Crows. But Cindy's like kind of default recommendation seems to be Defy the Stars. So this book, Defy the Stars, is about an intergalactic war between 2 planets. We have Earth, because we're always thrown into the mess, and Genesis. Noemi is a fighter for Genesis, and you're kind of just like thrown into the action. And in the beginning, her friend Esther is injured, and they seek refuge on this abandoned ship. And turns out they're not alone, and this is where we meet our main protagonist, Abel. And he is very advanced, possibly the most advanced robot in the galaxy, because he was seen as an experiment to see how realistic they could get him to be. It's like, I've read Claudia Gray before. She seems to always pose a question to the reader, and this one seemed to be like, what does it mean to have a soul? And there's a lot of a religious allegory in this book, where it's like kind of the creation versus the maker, and what the creation owes the maker, kind of what it means to be human. Why do we qualify certain traits humane and others not? So this is a sci-fi romance, and I will say that the development of said romance to me was done really well, in the build-up of kind of a dislike to, oh, you're fine, to being willing and able. I get it, because his name is Abel. I will say, I blew through this book. Like, it's very classic YA, but in the best way possible. Yes, I ended up giving Defy the Stars 4 stars. I'm telling you guys, sci-fi is just not my genre, but this one was one of the better ones. And the last book is Gideon the Ninth, which is my booktube besties' favorite book, Rhiannon from Crescent Moon Reads. The classic pitch for Gideon the Ninth is lesbian necromancers in space. And if that's not enough, I could tell you a little bit more. So it's about this chick named Gideon. One day her mom just falls from the sky, yelling Gideon, and they happen to land on the 9th planet of the solar system. Her mother, Gideon's mother, is just screaming, Gideon, Gideon, Gideon. They take the baby in and think like, oh, her name must be Gideon. And so the parents of the planet are kind of barren to produce a necromancer baby, because that's kind of what all the planets do. They decide, as a sacrificial type of gig, to kill off the 200 babies with poisonous gas. So, but Gideon doesn't die. So Harrowhark, who is the born heir necromancer of the planet, stuff happens. Turns out that Harrowhark has to go to other planets to kind of compete in this competition with other necromancers and other caviars. Hannah in editing, will you help me out? Cavaliers. Everything about this book screams Rhiannon. From the cover to the writing to the concept, everything about it Rhiannon would love. For me, nothing is really a buzzword. Like, I'm not a sci-fi person. Hate to love isn't my favorite trope. I know, cancel me. But was it still great? Yes. Should you still read it? Yes. I will say this book is told in acts. Act 5 messed me up. But anywho, I ended up giving this 4 stars because it did take me a while to like get into the world and kind of get my footing in it. But again, that might be just me because like I will say it again, I'm not a sci-fi person. So there we go. So it turns out my favorite booktubers have some good taste in books. That concludes the video, but thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you next time. Keep reading and all that jazz. Love has a lot of, when like, blah, blah. Defy the Stars is, forget that I, like, oh, the sun did something funny. What I think Julie Berry does really well, that can smell Sophia's blood, so that's right, he's basically Edward Cullen. Here we go. You ready for this?